Committee meeting to order. Ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Tom Duffy, Stacy Hessel.
Here.
Ron Kinsley,
There.
John Rickheimer,
Here.
Dale Streeter.
Yep.
You have a quorum.
Let the record indicate we have a quorum. Next item is pledge of allegiance. Aye.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Certification compliance open meeting laws.
The meeting has been noticed to the public and news media as required by section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes.
Thank you. Meeting agenda is set. Number 6, public comment. Anybody have anything for public comment? Nobody online? Thank you. Number 7, approve the minutes of the previous meeting of July 14th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Ringheimer, second by Ms. Hessel to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 8, Treasury Department update. We have the county sales tax distribution. Jadine's off today. Andy, anything you want to add? Maybe
No.
Mike?
I've got a lot of updates, but I think that comes a little later.
Okay. No, they had to collect the second half of the taxes at the end of July. Which is came and gone. Do we know the settlements are due? Maybe that's a question for JD and not you two gentlemen.
I don't know the due date, but when we met with her yesterday, whenever that was, she was starting to work on them because they were getting through the tax payments came in July, but there's also a grace period.
Yeah.
So in that cell, they can start to prepare
I
the
think it's like
settlement.
the 15th, they have to have it on the comments. Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll go to number 9. Rescue Plan Act of 2021 funding update, please.
No updates.
Okay. Number 10, opioid settlement update.
There's no update on the securitization. That's still, we've left our name in there that we're interested so that we continue to be a part of that process. No updates there. We did receive our first payment from the opioid settlement of $20,134. Anticipate another payment of $21,161 before the end of the year. We knew those were going to be coming in and that they would come before the securitization would be put together. So those are on schedule. Those have been put in segregated accounts. We track them. And then WCA is putting together a opioid summit on August 22nd, where they'll talk a little bit more about securitization, but it'll be more of a forum for counties to be talking about how the opioid monies can be used and maybe some regional or statewide efforts to use the opioid money for the intended purpose.
Now, I assume that they come with rules that we have to follow, and I'm assuming that most of that will be spent at Health and Human Services, but that's an assumption.
Some could be human services. It could be also in law enforcement. I mean, the number one example I'd use is, if we needed Narcan for law enforcement, we could use it to do that. They're already getting Narcan, that we don't have a problem getting it, and at this point, they're not paying for it. But that's one of the eligible uses, or mental health for people in the jail that have substance abuse issues.
Okay.
Some counties are really going to shore up their drug court. They maybe had grant funding before that they're not getting anymore, so they'll use the opioid settlement to continue to run their drug courts.
Okay.
So it can be used in multiple different departments. Our public health department is doing a lot of legwork right now to look at kind of the community needs or in the health area to address the opioid, or not just opioid, but it's actually any substance issue, because there'll be some other funding coming out from the state that'll be competitive that they would like to pursue as well.
Can it be put into prevention?
Yep.
So you can go to the schools and, like the officers there could be paid programs like a DARE program again or something?
I can't say for sure, but I know prevention in the general category
Okay.
is eligible. I haven't gotten that detail, but prevention, care, aftercare, education, I mean, there's a fairly lengthy document that outlines all the eligible uses, and to me, it'd be harder to find something that doesn't fit in there than you can find a category in there. You probably heard of it, like CJCC has discussed a lot of things. I'm a little not concerned, but I mean, there's some fairly grandiose ideas of starting up aftercare, just like actually starting up new programs or facilities to treat individuals or provide aftercare for people, and that probably would recommend steering clear of that, just from a.
It's not sustainable.
That's exactly what I was just going to spit out.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to help you.
Thank you.
I
But
haven't been
exactly,
married for a long time. I have to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but that's exactly what I mean. Nice ideas, but sustainability would be an issue.
Okay. We have the staff.
I mean, for those types of facilities, that'd be like starting up brand new or
Yeah.
Hiring staff and programs. If there's like places like the House of Hope,
Mhm.
things like that are existing that, you could allocate opioid funding to send more people to support them going into those types of facilities. Would probably be better than starting up new things.
Right.
Yeah, the WCA, this opioid summit kind of came out of the blue. They announced it last week, and it's a week and a half away. So
Is that something that's virtual or?
at this point, they're talking about it, but at this point, it's not. It's in Stevens Point. So we shared it with CJCC yesterday, and I think there'll be getting a few people to go to that.
Okay, good. I don't know what the name of it. Any other questions, concerns about opioid settlement? Number 11, update on ambulance billing.
So it's fully in progress. We had public safety received and I didn't get it attached here. I can send that out. We did get a full financial statement for last month. Mike, probably Randy and Nate are going to set up a time with LifeQuest to have them explain to us their report, because they're not, it's new to us, and I can't tell you that we understand everything that they're putting on there, but it is fully up and running, and starting to see the I don't know, I guess
Just got a check yesterday.
yeah. So we'll be able to give you a better update on that after we learn about the report.
And how about closing up the company we had?
That's pretty well done. I mean, I think anything that's hanging out there is being turned over to LifeQuest for them to follow up on any outstanding bills. We're fully moved over to LifeQuest.
And LifeQuest is the company that we had prior,
LifeQuest is the current company.
Prior to that.
but prior to, we've had LifeQuest before.
Yes.
Prior to the last one.
What we did? Okay.
So if we weren't happy with them before, I'd certainly want to watch what they're doing.
Okay.
That's wrong.
Good to know. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. Courthouse building update.
Nothing on the funding. The only thing I've shared with the other committees is that there's a list of items that were on our side of the responsibility list that were outside of the Myron contract. Those were things like relocating utilities, demolition, asbestos removal for the demolition, AV for the new building, and furniture. A number of those items were quoted in the original project that are estimated to cost so much money. Like the relocating of the fiber from those companies and telephone lines was estimated at 26,000. That's come in over 50,000, and actually the work was done. The original quote for the Video AV equipment was 204,000. The current quote is 244. We actually put that back out for proposals. Those are due tomorrow. So we're hoping to get that back in line with the original quote. And furniture was 121 and is now at 132. But we've come up with, getting that number back down to 121. We're going to end up having our staff do some of the building of the desks in the offices rather than buying them, which will be a savings there, and I'll get that back down. So we do have some things running over, but we're trying hard to get those back in line with the original quote to stay within budget. And then within the Myron contract, one change that we've initiated is the stormwater, particularly off the current building, where it's going to run off the roof and across the sidewalk and into the parking lot. So we had a window of opportunity to change that to add gutters onto the building and then run the downspouts alongside the building and then underground. So then it would connect in with the storm sewer collection in the parking lot. So we've made that switch, which will increase the cost, but we're saving money by taking the generator out of the project, which will cover that increased cost for moving the stormwater underground and offsite.
This would probably be safe.
That's the reason we did it, because we've had problems on that side of the building, especially with those freeze thaw cycles
Mhm.
with slips
Oh, yeah.
across the sidewalk. So
Just leave it.
The water main that is under Fifth Street now, is that going to be removed?
if it hasn't been removed, it's not going to be removed. Because all utilities have been relocated and tied back into. But I don't know if it might have been, I can't recall specifically if that was discontinued and then rerouted, or if it was, I don't believe it was moved.
There's some discussion prior to this construction actually getting started about the pros and cons of leaving it in place or taking it out. And I was strongly in favor of taking it out because you don't want it collapsing 15, 20 years down. the road.
Right. I will ask if that was,
If the well was, it's too late now.
yeah, I'd say it's too late now because we're building across the river.
Either there or they fill it full of cement or something.
Right. That's what I'm wondering if it was just discontinued and then rerouted somewhere else as part of the, because there were some things with the California Avenue that they did some trading on, but I'm not totally familiar with that.
Okay, thank you.
I'll follow up on that.
Be a John McHugh question.
We have the price of how much that generator, the second generator is going to be, is it like 700,000 or something?
It's less than that. It's like closer to 200,000.
Okay.
But we don't, it's been removed from the project. Probably our next meeting, they'll run through the change order and we'll see the number. How much it actually taking out. Added to the contingency fund.
Any other questions? 2023 budget.
Got some updates.
I knew we did some money in.
Yeah. About very much.
Now you're acclimated.
I don't think that way. Just kidding.
Almost fully. And I don't know what I don't know yet. Feeling better.
We're all in the same boat there, so don't worry.
Ignorance is bliss, right?
So this is actually a little bit of a combination of what I did on this year. Where we're at with the budget here. So this first graph is just a quick summary of the major funds. Where we're at revenue and expense versus. Well, versus the overall for the year. You can see revenues are all over 50%, so money's coming in faster and we're spending it, which is good. General fund is just over 50%. These are all as of June 30th, so I did like a mid-year update. Highway is under, which would make sense because they hadn't started a lot of projects by June 30th. And then HHS is again right at 50%. So as far as expenses go, we're really right on course, from what I can tell. The next 5 pages is really just an expanded version of that. You can see department by department within the general fund and within human services. I really was just the one last time. So if you really wanted to dig in and see department by department, you can look at that in there. So any questions on that quick update this year? And if you look at that next 2-page or 4-page
Just a minute,
report,
please. Is there anything, I know you're new at this, but is there anything that stands out to be brought to our attention?
for this year, there really wasn't. I mean, if you look down this, there are some very small ones that might be at, like, for instance, county parks is at 116% of budget, but budget's $800. So I don't go that kind of detail line by line. I look at the overall. And I know the county is a little more oriented towards looking at the detail. But I'm still gonna look at the bigger ones, like ambulance service. That's a big portion of the general fund. So I'm gonna look at that and see where we're at. And that one is running a little bit ahead. But that could be, well. And then, like, if you look at. On the expenditure side. Administration looks high. But from what I can tell, when Mike took over as administrator, his cost was moved into that. So that was, a little overstated for a while. So no, when I look at this, I can't find anything that really sticks out like, oh, we really got to look at that.
That's fine.
The pain points we've had, the county's had the last few years has been like out of county placements.
Right.
Those right now are tracking in line with the budget.
Yeah, actually,
For youth and adults. Yeah. The only thing that was kind of a footnote this week is that timber stumpage sales are a little behind budget schedule as of right now, but there's a lot of harvest time yet for the year. So.
That comes and goes.
Yep.
Yeah. I did analyze the sales tax income a little bit too, and what I did is I took the last 3-year trend. And then compared that to the average for the first 7 months and projected that forward. And using that analysis, it looks like we'll be a little bit of last year too. I was kind of doing that to predict next year as well. Sure. So I know the last 2 months were down a little bit, but overall we're still ahead of last year, and the trend would show that we'll continue that. So that was good news.
Mr. Schleter.
The costs of the healthcare for some individuals is a real concern. There have been some discussion about if those placements are ordered by a judge, that they fall outside of the levy limit.
You can make them outside the levy limit, right?
And how much would that, when the chunk of money would that be? And can you tell us that?
I can't because I don't know what percent of the people that we're paying those costs on are court ordered.
That's gonna have a big impact on how we treat the budget, because if there's this big chunk out there.
Yep.
You can play catch up on some programs that need.
Right. It would give you some ability, some flexibility in getting things within the levy limit, but it would still go on the levy.
Yes,
Just, okay,
and with those that remove my experience taxes.
great. That's the balance.
But I'm looking forward to see more information about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
How does that come into play if the judge orders them to go there and the judge is a state employee? Does the state have to pick up the funds?
Mm-mm.
I know,
Very well.
Okay.
I know, wishful thinking.
It's a good thought.
Yeah. It is.
It's worth a try.
Right now, our legislature is more worried about infighting Wisconsin, County.
Yes.
And just the resolution we submitted to WCA for the conference, we started off with that position that if it's a court ordered appointment, or if it's a court ordered placement, or if it's a placement in a state-owned facility like Mendota or Winnebago, that the state should just pay for it rather than burdening us. And we were politely told that that's not a tree to bark up, that the legislature is not, it's a non-starter with them. So that's why we repositioned our ask to switch the CSP program to be more like the CCS program, to get additional reimbursements from the state for that, or get it fully funded. But that's, you're not the only one that's had that train of thought about the state incurring those costs.
Yes,
But they did decide to incur some of the CSP costs, right?
CCS,
With CCS.
yes.
Right. Are they looking, if the state is looking at some of the other options that we passed on to our representatives about how to treat that funding for even placements in the donor or Scottish state funded facilities, such as capping what a county is limited to?
I've not heard of any movement in those fronts.
Okay, because that was. Well, I talked to Senator Kowski about that, and he thought that was a
Mhm.
viable option.
Of course, it's been, for the last few months, and probably until next year, it's gonna be pretty quiet until they start to count chairs and then figure out the next biennial budget. I mean, just nothing's gonna happen. You don't hear any talk.
And there's no disrespect to you at all. But it always seems like we're told it's too early to start working on it, or it's too late to start working on it. When is the magic point in time where we do start working on it? And that's not so much a question to you as to, I don't even know who asked that question.
Right.
anything else on the budget?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this next 4-page report is a statement of cash position. And if you look at line 1, the general fund, looks like we have a whole lot of money, and we do. This is as of July 31st, but we haven't issued checks to the other tax entities yet. So it's artificially high, but we are in a good position.
So related to that budget. Somewhere. ARPA funds aren't in, are they? But we'll hold that question for later.
They are,
Line 230, I believe.
yes.
ARPA funds are in there?
Yep.
So. How do we make out with, we approved for internet or,
Broadband.
have they received their money yet?
Just one of them.
I issued that other 400.
Yep, that's the one. Yeah, Mosaic requested theirs, and their project is well underway, so we did disperse
Okay,
the Mosaic project that was approved in 2021.
Yeah.
But that's the only one that's been dispersed as of now.
okay,
So if you look at line 230, it says beginning balance of 1.2 million. So this was ran as of July 31st. We made that $400,000 payment in August. So you could actually take 400,000 off of that bottom line now. And then the total debits is the second round that we received in July.
who else we have to give money to? We have to give money to the housing.
Yep, housing, we're gonna probably disperse here in the very next week or two. They requested their funds. We dispersed the senior resource center for their bus has been paid out. The early projects that you approved, like the scanner for the jail, the body scanner, that was paid out,
The helipad.
has not been dispersed yet.
Okay.
Trying to remember the stuff that you did early on.
Mhm.
But yeah, the only one of the Mosaic was dispersed.
So BevCom, I think that project's not till next year.
Right,
Um,
I think there was one, there was a Nevada one in 21 that should be, they have not requested it yet, but that would be the next one most likely.
The helipad, we're gonna get all the bills first before we disperse that. All right, thank you. Go ahead.
And then the last sheet is the budget worksheet report for 2023. And the first page is all of the individual departments within Fund 100. The second page has a summary of that, and then human services and highway. And right now I'm just focusing on the bid funds. And you can see from the amended budget of 2022 to the 2023 department budget, there's an increase. Not everything is in the 2023 yet, though I will say there are some of the 100 fund that have not been entered. But human services is up a little bit, just a reasonable amount. Highways up a bit. And if you go down line by line, sheriff's departments, the request is up a little bit. Most of them pretty much are just carrying forward, with the exception of the projected cost of insurance and the salary increases that were granted.
Mr. Sleater, you got a question?
No.
We're also working on the CIP. That looks to be about in line with, watch, I got it here. Forgot about that one. Too much in line with previous years at this point.
So where are the departments at? Have they submitted, this is their budget submitted?
They've submitted, there's still a few, like we'll see, like airport, we need to
Yeah.
finish up a couple.
We met with 2/3 of them probably so far.
Yeah, we got meetings today, tomorrow. We had preliminary with human services. We've not met with, kind of working, trying to schedule most of them this week, all the, I guess, smaller departments, and we're saving the sheriff and highway. And probably a follow-up meeting with human services for the end. But I guess we haven't heard any major program changes or except when we meet with the sheriff, that will be, that's where the new position requests are coming from and some increased costs there.
So we bring it back a preliminary budget in September.
Yeah, our job is to put together a budget for you, then print it over and let you have at it.
Any other new position request? That money that has to come from somewhere, or do we take from something else? To be determined.
To be determined. I mean, that's the question is, like Mike said, he's looked at sales tax forecast. The net new construction was 1.17, which amounted to
131,000 or so.
so 131,000 is our new money. That's what we can increase the levy by.
And then as an example, something like the carbon credit would help with things like that.
It would, but you're not.
I know it's not there.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, that would be
As an example of what.
example of
benefit
new revenue. Yep. So there'll be a little bit of money in sales tax that is, sales tax is going up and they've not fully budgeted year to year because you want to over budget. So there'll be a little bit of new money, but we're talking 3 positions that they've requested.
Right.
And I guess my message when I put it out, I think all the departments at this point know the budget situation, so they're very good about looking for savings and not asking for new positions. At the same time, like the sheriff asked, how much can we afford? I said, well, do your job and you put in your budget what you need to do your job, and then we'll have to take it from there. But is there a way to afford 3 new positions? Probably not.
Those road positions.
Well,
And
one essentially one in patrol, one in dispatch, one in jail.
And that opioid money can't pay for that because it wouldn't be sustainable. Or it can't pay for positions at all like that.
You'd have to still, you could target one of the positions to be some type of. That would, I'm sure you could identify one of the positions and make it qualify under the parameters of the opioid settlement, but that's what you just said, though, is probably the real problem is you're setting yourself up for, not having that money in a year or two.
I think my priority would be if I could encourage, I think we're gonna lose deputies if we don't pay more and if we don't get more. Our county is being overrun by a lot of bad.
Yep.
So we need to put our efforts into law enforcement, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, the other thing we've got kind of across the board projection in the budget, but we still will be entering negotiations in probably September, October. Right now, the union's going through a election to determine what union they're going to be a part of. Once that's done, then we'll probably get a letter saying they want to open negotiations. And so those have been pretty wild around the region as to where they've settled out at. So,
Were some of them settling now?
I mean, some settled last year, some are in the process right now. I mean, I guess I'm referring more to the ones last year that's around that timeline for a contract, but there were, actually go further west, the bigger the settlement amounts were. So we have a projected number in the budget for wages, but really have no idea at this point what they're gonna start with for their.
Well, you always have a starting point, but when we're going to negotiations with them. Can you tell me how much we're looking at presently? Or is that hasn't been thought about yet? As in, I mean, is it 1%, 2%, where we at? That's what I'm
I
at.
think for the sheriff projected 3%.
That's correct.
It's just it's an endless cycle, because if we don't increase our police department and our safety, then we don't get the tourism, we don't get the tax dollars. So that's just like it's a battle where you put your focus, but if we make it a safe community, more people will come here and we'll have more tax dollars. So
So the 3 positions is somewhat tied to, but separate than the rate increase, correct?
Correct. Like they'd like to add I think it's another investigator position in the patrol side, another position in jail to help with the shortage we've had. So we have extra, additional.
Yeah, I guess would that be part of our negotiation, I guess, to cooperatively work? I mean, on one end of the spectrum, we'll pay everybody more, no new positions. Or we can pay a little less and pick up 2 positions.
That'll be part of it. It gets a little more complicated because only the patrol side is union.
Oh, okay,
So there's, depends how they want to view their
Gotcha.
department.
gotcha, okay.
Yes,
when you said the patrol union was voting to change unions.
Yep.
I don't understand the union, what's the current union?
They're currently WPPA, Wisconsin Professional Police Association.
But there's other union organizations that do the same thing and they compete with each other.
Better negotiators.
They do.
And it's the local hires.
So our role in that is we were notified of petition. They tell the state, is it labor relations, that they want to schedule a vote of their membership. And so then we have to provide them, we don't, all we had to do is acknowledge it and then provide them a list of eligible union membership. Then those people all are able to vote they had to petition, they had to get so many of the current members, I think, to petition to have this election. And so then they vote on the representation. which I think is happening now. I think they had to have it done by next week. Because we were notified almost, we received the notice of the petition for the election and the notice that WPPA wanted to open negotiations like almost the same day. So we said, you guys figure that out and then we'll talk about it.
Indirectly, Sawyer County is paying for whatever union they go to.
Well, indirectly in the sense that it's their union dues are deducted out of their, we deduct them and send them to the union that they designate us to send them to.
Okay,
Under the budget, sorry, Mike, would you? Okay. Under the budget, the list of mandated services, I don't have that ready. There's not a list to just grab of the mandated services. So as we meet with departments, I've been making notes of the mandated services. And also there's a group of counties that we've been sharing, working on it together to come up with a list.
because that's hard to put that list together.
It is, and it's part of it's hard because it's nuanced. It's like public health is mandated, but not each of the things they do is mandated. Or the other one I like to explain is like the airport. The airport is not mandated. You don't. However, at this point, if you have an airport, it's almost a mandate because if you said I'm not doing the airport anymore, you would be liable to pay back millions and millions, millions of dollars to get out of that. So there's kind of a mandate, non-mandate, and then there's some stuff in the middle that you have to do to meet other mandates. So I hope to, when we get the budget done, also have a list of mandates for you to kind of work off of.
Anything else? All right, number 14, the elected officials compensation update.
I don't have much of an update on that. I've asked around and tried to find any sort of wiggle room as far as adjusting elected officials' compensation midterm, and I have not found any. I gave you the opinion of our attorneys last month as to, we asked them to weigh in, and they basically said that you cannot do adjustments. You're allowed to adjust their like their benefits, like their health insurance, as you adjust the other employees, but their salary compensation is set prior to their term starting, and that's this. You said all four when you did that, you said all 4 years, and there's no adjusting outside of that. Talked to WCA, but I kind of knew the answer because our attorneys are the attorneys for WCA, and I have this same opinion on board. I don't know. I'll keep on looking.
I would appreciate it if you keep on looking because I feel that we need to compensate them workers the same as we do everybody else. And I realized we did lock that up when we did the 4 years prior to them running for that office, but I just want to help the best I can. Yes,
When we do set these salaries, county elected positions, are we mandated to treat them the same across the board?
No,
Because there's some real discrepancies that we need.
yeah, no, it's what you mean. Each of the clerk, the treasurer, the register of deeds. You can treat them differently, adjust them differently. I'd say what I've seen maybe over the last 10 years is a number of counties went to like those positions being equivalent across the board. If you look at, I do have a schedule for almost all the counties and it shows all the elected officials compensation. And there's a good number of counties that set each of those positions at the same compensation amount, but you're not required to do that.
can I ask a question about that, please? Like Price County, and I don't. Price County's doing it, so obviously it's gotta be legal. Is they only set 1 year at a time, they set prior to them running, they set it, but then they review each year, the same as they do the rest of the employees. if I understood it correctly.
Yeah, they passed a resolution, like when you passed your resolution setting all 4 years, they passed a resolution that said this is the first year's wage. And then the resolution says that they get adjusted every year by the same amount as the general staff gets adjusted. Now, and that's why it came up as to how come Price County is adjusting their, increasing theirs. They put that in a resolution prior to the term. I shared that with our council and they said they went. If we were asking for an opinion, that they would not advise the county to do that because they don't believe that's legal, but. That is, I think there's a couple other counties that are doing it similar to Price. But they did adopt that resolution before the term started.
So we want to look at all our options before we do it next time also,
Right.
because we always live and learn. Unfortunately, sometimes the learning costs you. All right, number 12, review board policy procedure manual. Andy was nice enough to give us a paper last month for us to all to look at. Does anybody have any comments, concerns, things they want to bring forward?
Do we need to approve it today so we can get it off the agenda? Make a
If
motion.
you, excuse me,
No,
if
that's
you,
okay.
you approve it, then I cement it in the board policy, the full manual, and then the board will adopt at some point the full manual.
I make a motion to approve the board policy and procedures for the finance committee as presented.
I'll second. Motion by Ms. Hessel, second by Mr. Kramer to approve as presented. I also want to comment how well, Andy, how well you put that together. Like that the public works one last night and this one did a wonderful job, I think. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
I
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 16. Future agenda items.
Just a question, just procedurally. So we'll get the budget put together and say this is the budget. We give, do you meet as a finance committees, like separate meetings to go through that, or how, I'm not sure on the process with the board.
What we've done in the past is administrations put together the budget, presented it to the finance committee. And it's usually like we're doing now, we update it every month. And then in October, the finance committee approves it to take to the full board, and then you take it to the full board. So in October, you give it to the board, say, this is your budget now, and changes you want to make.
Yep.
And usually, sometimes we have a special meeting in October. It's got to be approved in October to get published in the paper X amount of time.
Yep.
And then in November, it's approved, the final approvals.
Did you, I mean, did you have separate finance committee meetings just to review the budget we give you? Or is that part of your?
It's in both ways. We have done that sometimes, but last year we did not.
Okay,
Other things for future agenda items. Does anybody have anything out there that they want to be brought abreast? I mean, the finance is for the whole county. And if there's some department that you have concerns about, we certainly should be talking about them. I keep on trying to dream up stuff to make sure we're kept abreast the best we can. But if other people have other ideas, I'm certainly willing to listen for to have it on the finance agenda. So if you think of something later, don't be afraid to say something. Number 17, correspondence reports, conference, other things. Yeah, let's talk about a little bit more is. Dale brought up the concern about that 300 for the housing. Housing would like to get that money. You said that you're gonna cut the check this week, next week. That I would assume that'll satisfy them. It's not gonna satisfy the past, but it was brought to question if they could get their money. They could be ordering things like furniture and stuff that they could use. They're afraid to order if they don't have the money. Dale brought that to my attention. So if we're cutting them the check now, I would assume that that'll take care of that. Yes.
So this is for the housing units? So I thought we were building the houses, we're not buying their furniture. Or what do you mean?
We are.
Tree appliances.
Oh,
These are the rental units. That Sutter County Housing Authority owns.
okay.
So no, we're not buying John Doe, or the refrigerator, or the lounge chair. What do you think?
I didn't know they came furnished. That's where I'm confused. I thought it was just your basic apartment that we were helping with the building fund.
We don't furnish them.
You just said a lounge chair, so that's why I'm trying to get clarification.
We don't.
Oh, okay,
allow
got it,
John Doe to buy a lounge. We don't give them a lounge
got it.
chair. Rarely get that kind of money out of the wife.
Well, because he said they want to buy furniture, so that's where I was confused, but you mean appliances and the building, so, okay, got it, okay. Well, I just don't want anybody thinking that we're fully furnishing rental units.
Good point. I just,
Usually it's me, so I'm just happy when someone else does it.
And the housing authority has submitted all the paperwork, all the information that you need to proceed with this disbursement.
Not at this point, but we're,
What else do we need to?
well, at some point, we're gonna, when they purchase the item or how they use the money, we're gonna need documentation back. I think we can disperse if they need to move ahead with ordering, if that's what they need. And then we'll have them supply the documentation for just verifying the expenditures that are,
You talk about like giving us chunks of it at a time, and then we show you that what we spend it on, and then another chunk, we show you what we spend it on, or is it all going to go in one fell swoop?
I think for ease of us, it'd just be one fell swoop.
That would be easier for everybody.
No, that's what we're gonna do.
Do they have set rules, like they have to purchase their materials and appliances in Sawyer County, so at least our money is staying in Sawyer County?
We prefer to do it unofficially. We prefer that.
So they're encouraged to stay local. Okay, good. I've had people question that, like if they're buying from out of town and I just wanted to make sure that it was encouraged to stay local.
We can encourage them when it was approved, there's very little detail with
Mhm.
some of the ARPA words.
Okay,
But yes, it is our policy. But
okay, great. Thank you.
anything else? No, we're adjourned. Thank you, folks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.